As I watch youth games more and more, the biggest problem that I see is when players catch the ball, they don't look at the basket. The tendency is they catch the ball and they look at the ground. I think this is a result in a lot of cases because the first thing that we teach young players when they catch is to immediately triple threat. So they're not catching the ball and looking to attack right away. They're not catching the ball and looking to shoot right away. Instead, they're immediately tucking the ball and getting in a low position and having to protect it from a defensive player who's now able to come out, and put pressure on them. I also think the second reason why this tends to happen is that so much of fundamental training now is done individually, as opposed to during team practices or during gameplay or pickup games or something like that. And when you're in an individual practice, you're practicing against a cone or just against yourself, and there's no passing option, and so drills are divided. So if I'm doing a shooting drill, well, then I catch and I immediately shoot it. But if I'm doing, offensive moves type drill, well, I catch and then I'm going to make a move against, maybe my coach or maybe a cone or a chair or something like that. So my eyes tend to go down. And because passing is never an option in these drills, we're never giving the players the same type of information that's going to be in the environment in a game, and instead we're allowing bad habits to develop because we believe that when we get in a game, these habits are going to change. And so I think to fix this problem, which I really do think plagues a lot of the play at lower levels and all the way in probably through to college, is I think we need to correct those two things. One, even if we're working on individual skills, like you're making a move or off the catch or, making a quote-unquote triple threat move or something like that, I think that we need to incorporate passing options that force the offensive player on the catch to get his or her eyes up and see the floor. And I also think, so less, individual isolated work and more individual collective work, if that makes sense. And then second, less emphasis on the triple threat. Yes, it's important to teach something the players can do with the ball when they're holding it and trying to run the coach's offense. But I think that should be the last resort. The first look should be on a catch. We should be teaching players to immediately look to be aggressive, whether they're attacking with a dribble or whether they're looking for a shot. And holding the ball and waiting in some set position should be the last resort. And then even then, I think we can teach that a little bit better. But I think those two things, if we do a little bit more practice when we're working on individual skills, but in a collective environment, and then if we can really get players to think about, using that advantage or thinking attack first. I believe Phil Jackson calls it carrying a threat as opposed to triple threat. So on the catch, you're always making yourself a threat instead of just holding the ball in a static position. I think these two things can go a long way towards improving players' performance because I think looking at the ground and allowing defensive players to rotate and put pressure on the ball without getting eyes up, and now we're going to be late making passes and so forth, I think that becomes a big problem and really hurts offensive execution and offensive efficiency.